Boomtown is KVUE's look at the growth happening in Central Texas. And the lure of Austin's lakes and recreational lifestyle contributes to that growth.
But for all the fun, enjoyment, and beauty our waterways bring, there's also danger involved, toxic algae that could kill pets.
And it's not just happening during the summer months. The KVUE defenders found out why. Here's investigative reporter Terry Gruta.
You may remember back in 2019, several dogs died after visiting our local lakes and ingesting that toxic blue-green algae. It happened again here at Lake Travis right after our winter snowstorms. And the Lower Colorado River Authority has found that same toxic algae in our Highland Lakes. It turns out it could be a deadly side effect of our booming growth. Sometimes you find yourself in a place where the simple things in life bring you so much joy, yet so much sorrow.
Sorry, I haven't really thought about this in a while.
A backyard game of fetch has a way of doing that for Claire Sicardi. 2 years ago, a quick trip to the dog park at Redbud Isle changed everything. She had her golden retriever Harper for 4 years. They were inseparable.
She was, running and chasing sticks and balls into the lake and coming back.
An hour later, back home with Harper.
She's walking down the kitchen aisle and just trips and falls and collapses.
She rushed Harper to an emergency vet.
I remember them coming in and saying, "Your baby's not doing well. Can we give her CPR?" And of course I say yes, but that's when I knew that it wasn't going to be okay. And
Harper died, according to the vet, from ingesting toxic blue-green algae. She was one of 5 dogs to die that summer in Austin. Then in January, it happened here again. Another dog dead after playing in Lake Travis and ingesting blue-green algae.
I thought we were the last ones.
But there's other things in here.
Brent Bellinger works for the Austin Watershed Department and performs a lot of the testing on our lakes.
I've gone out, taken samples on Lake Austin and Lady Bird Lake. We did have a hit for that same toxin up by Mansfield Dam, the low water crossing, but Lady Bird Lake so far has come back negative.
Blue-green algae are actually types of bacteria known as cyanobacteria, typically growing in areas where there are high levels of phosphorus and nitrogen and when water becomes still and warm, but not always.
These cyanobacteria, they're present year-round really. They just really tend to crank up their growth rates during the hottest part of the year.
Which is what concerns the watchdog group Save Our Springs Alliance.
When it happened this year, it happened right after one of our historic freezes. So it's not necessarily just the heat that is causing the concern and the growth of the blue-green algae. There's other contributing factors that are obviously in play.
It's a confluence of conditions. Obviously, development contributes more runoff, more sediment, more nutrients, and that helps fuel cyanobacteria growth regardless of the time of year. The invasion of zebra mussels, from what we've heard, each lake that is tested positive has zebra mussels.
The invasion of zebra mussels is a factor because they filter out the good bacteria and leave the bad, helping toxic algae grow. But perhaps the most critical factor is the human factor.
When you have a population that's growing so fast as what we have in Central Texas, it's very, very difficult to limit the amount of nutrients getting into these water bodies. And so that's where we are right now.
Mike Clifford is the technical director for the Greater Edwards Aquifer Alliance. He blames the growing amount of treated wastewater discharges the KVUE defenders have reported on for years because of all the development happening in our area.
50 miles through some of the most scenic parts of Central Texas, and now hotspots for growth.
We have a lot of nutrient sources now coming into the water, wastewater treatment plants, agricultural runoff, septic tanks, things like that that are upstream.
One of the things that we do need to address in the future is as we are growing as a region, what water quality standards are we holding developers to ensure that the water gets treated before it makes its way back into our water systems?
So are people at risk too?
As long as people aren't interacting directly with the algae, the risk and concern should be low. Obviously, This is non-potable water. You don't really want to be ingesting much of the water anyways.
One of the concerns about it making its way into our water supply is how much is making its way in there, to know whether our treatment methods are going to be sufficient to make sure that we have safe drinking water.
In fact, in 2014, there was so much toxic blue-green algae in Lake Erie that the water system in Toledo, Ohio, was shut down. Austin Water told the KVUE Defenders it has processes in place to remove cyanobacteria and cyanotoxins, and so far cyanotoxins have not been detected in any of our plant intakes. So can we get rid of the blue-green algae? Certain chemicals can, but experts agree those present even more environmental issues.
So this is an example of a biochar sock.
Matt Atwood of Lone Star Life Sciences has a different solution.
So we had the solution that we presented 2 years ago by putting biochar in the water. And then you filter that water out.
Biochar is a charcoal-like substance made from burning organic material like trees, which is then put into socks and dropped into the water.
If you can put the biochar in the current, and especially where the water comes into the lake, then we can control the nutrient pollution immediately. We can definitely drop that down, and when you drop the nutrients that are in the water, you're going to have less algae growth.
It's not a new invention. In fact, it's been used in agriculture for years to improve soil fertility and yields. Matt has a patent-pending technology for use on blue-green algae and is working with Texas A&M to study its effects in Uvalde.
It's a fast-acting product, and it's a natural solution.
It is one of the solutions the city is considering. In the meantime, the city of Austin has put up signs along some of the most heavily used waterways, warning of the potential dangers, and the testing continues.
You can look at algae, but you can't tell if it's toxic or not, so it's best keep your animals away from it and minimize your exposure to it.
I wouldn't let my dog go in these lakes right now with this going on.
This is Charlie. Same breed as Harper. He's actually her brother.
Claire now has a new puppy and a new perspective.
He does not go in water, period.
She hopes her story sits with other pet owners this summer.
It really changes what you do and how you live your life in the summer, I think, as a dog owner.
It's possible dogs that died from this toxic blue-green algae ingested it when cleaning themselves after swimming. And bathing after swimming may not be enough. Veterinarians we talked to say this toxic algae is so dangerous, many pets die before they ever make it to the vet office. You can learn more about where this toxic blue-green algae has been found in this story at KVUE.com. For the KVUE Defenders, I'm Terry Gruga.
Terry, thanks. If you have something you'd like the KVUE Defenders to investigate, send us a text message to the number you see on your screen, 512-459-9442.